What's up, faithful? You're listening to another episode of the 49ers Web Zone No Huddle podcast, a part of the Odyssey Network. I'm Brian Rennick. He's Al Sacco. It is halftime of the 49ers Week 2 preseason game against the New Orleans Saints. Al, it's over. I'm ready to declare it. Josh Dobbs, QB1 in Santa Clara.
Dude, he's fun to watch, man. The Pastronaut, I'm loving it. He's running around. He's making plays happen. He was a lot of fun to watch, and I think based on that, I'd be surprised if he's not QB2. I was like, listen, man, I'm on the Josh Dobbs train for the backup QB. Fun dude to me, Josh Dobbs.
Can I tell you that he looks like in that number 5 jersey what we thought we were getting with the other guy with the number 5 jersey? Maybe a little bit.
Oh, you went there? I did not make that correlation, but
maybe a little bit.
You know what else is killing me in this game? How about Chase Young just really decided not to hustle in the playoffs until the Super Bowl? But preseason week 2, dude, his hair is on fire. He's running around
and he knows how to defend
the game of the year. Give me a break, man. I'm watching him chase Purdy, which we'll get into, and run all around the field. And I'm like, you could have done this in the playoffs, man, right? You could have hustled. I think they
Super Bowl.
In the biggest games of your life. You played better in the Super Bowl, but when your coaches have to go out and answer questions about effort after the NFC Championship game, there's something going on there. So I'm watching him run around today, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. So there was that. Yeah. Here's what else stuck out to me. Look, it's a preseason game. I don't put a lot of stock into these, and the Niners did not have most of their stars playing, obviously, so they're not going to look like the 49ers out there. So a grain of salt, take a lot of what we saw with a grain of salt. But I heard that they're talking, all right, Purdy's going to play. So I'm assuming, like you see with a lot of teams when they're starting quarterback plays in the preseason, they're going to run the first team offense out there and for a series or two and just some quick passes, some runs, and get them the hell out of there. He comes out in the field, and he doesn't have Debo. He doesn't have Kittle. We know he doesn't have Aiyuk, obviously. He doesn't have Juwan Jennings. Ricky Pearsall's hurt. We know Christian McCaffrey's not going to be out there. Jordan Mason wasn't out there. So he's running with
Elijah Mitchell.
6th, 7th. Elijah Mitchell's not out there. Fifth stringers.
Yep.
In the offensive line, a little bit to get into there too. So you have Jalen Moore, Nick Sakel on the left side, Jake Brendel, who's your starting center, Dominic Cooney, who's likely going to be your starting right guard, and Colton McKivitz, who's your starting right tackle, were atrocious.
Yeah.
Really, really bad. But here's my thing. If you're going to play your starters. But don't put Purdy out there with these fifth string receivers. The offensive line was probably, if the season started today, that was your starting offensive line, as scary as that is. But you watched him in his dropbacks. Nobody was open. He got hit 3 times. You let your franchise quarterback go out there and get hit 3 times? I don't know what the hell Kyle was thinking. And I hope we're recording this at halftime of the game. I hope to God that he gets asked in the post-game press conference, Kyle, what the hell were you thinking? Why was Brock out there with these 5th-string dudes? There was no one to throw to. You saw him get really frustrated on his scramble, which thankfully he didn't get hit on that play. But he wanted Brady Willis to come back to him, and they weren't on the same page. If you're going to put those guys out there as receivers, and your offensive line is that spotty because of injuries and Trent not being there, don't fucking put Purdy out there. Just don't. He didn't need what did he get out of those reps? What? Nothing other than possibly getting killed.
Well, and the fact that he sent him out for a 3rd series was just it blew my mind. I was like, why? Like, what are you hoping to see? Like, what are you trying to see? And I loved Guy Haberman tweeted out, based on how things went in those first 3 series, he tweeted out in quotation marks, I was told anyone was able to get open in this offense. Right. As because that's what they say about Aiyuk, right? Is that, anyone can get open in this offense. Aiyuk is just a product of this offense. And again, if I feel like if you know ball, you understand that that's not true, right? Not just anybody can get open. We've seen plenty of players in this offense at the wide receiver position who couldn't get open. And, Brandon Aiyuk is a lead at that. And so again, I said it right before we started recording. I feel like if you're Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk, you're watching this game going, man, my my contract demands, I guess, probably don't seem that extreme because this team looks like dog shit when we're not out there. Now, granted, like you said, Debo's not out there.
Like I said, I'm not.
McCaffrey's not out there, but still,
the stars weren't out there.
Yeah.
And would you watch the Steelers last night? Their
Yeah.
starters
And if
were
you,
out there. They look
and if you, yeah,
terrible on offense. Oh
yeah,
my
you can't
God.
be,
Russell Wilson looks washed, and Justin
yeah,
Fields is back there with fourth stringers, fifth stringers, and
yeah,
just holding on to the ball. And I'm
yep,
glad he ran around a couple times and it looked fun or whatever. But listen, the NFL already told you what they think of Justin Fields when they basically gave him to
correct.
the Steelers for free. So if you're Brandon
Exactly.
Aiyuk, unless it's clearly a money thing where he really, really, really likes Mike Tomlin, I don't know why the hell he would want to go to that team. Not right now.
Yeah. I tweeted that out last night. I said, if you're Brandon Ayuk and you're watching this game wanting to go to Pittsburgh, I don't know
Yeah, I
I
can't
don't
help
know
you.
what else to say to you. Yeah. Can't help you there.
Can't help you,
Um,
buddy.
Defensive side of the ball, love what I saw. The run stop by Jair Brown was fantastic.
And
Curtis
Green too. I
Robinson,
like the secondary today.
yeah,
Secondary was
yep.
made some plays, man.
Curtis Robinson playing middle linebacker for Fred Warner looked a bit like he could play a bit. The run defense, man,
Mm-hmm.
still still not good, still not good. And that defense, now granted, excuse me, they gave up a 95-yard touchdown drive to the Saints. But they had taken a lot of and that, let's be honest as well. Not a lot of starters out there, right? Even on the defensive line, not a lot of starters.
Yeah, yeah.
Hargrave was out,
But
Bosa was out.
Collins,
But yeah,
Boyd,
so
yep.
but regardless, some good things, right? Malik Mustafa made another play. So excited about that guy. Like you said, Renardo Green made some good plays as well. So
On
encouraging
Olave,
things
he
to
was matched
see.
up on Olave.
Yeah, encouraging things to see from from some of the young guys,
Yeah,
especially in the secondary. So, I mean, are we going to take a lot from a preseason game? No. Again, it's only
no,
halftime, but let's be
yeah,
perfectly honest. The second half is going to be a bunch of guys
nothing.
who are working at Best Buy. By the time the season starts, so not a whole lot to gain, but some things to look at and some things to say, maybe we need to be worried about that. Maybe we don't. Run defense is going to be a concern until they prove that it's not. And then again, just that offensive line looked horrendous. And three of the starters were out there. So the fact that three starters were out there and they looked that bad is not a great sign. But in their defense, the Saints defense is probably one of the better defenses in the NFL. It's probably going to be a top 10 unit. And
Yeah,
so,
it was. Yeah, it was strong last year. It's going to be
yeah,
strong again this year. But I
yeah,
think what we know about the Niners and what we're seeing in this preseason so far is they're very top heavy, and that's fine when you literally have 12 of your 22 starters are absolute studs. You know what
right.
I mean? Like that. That's fine. And most of those studs weren't on the field. But what we are seeing is that they don't have the depth that they used to have in the past. That's going to be, if you have some injuries or whatever, that is going to be concerning. I do like the secondary. The linebackers are probably better than I thought they were. But that
I
D
think so.
line, I
Yeah.
just don't think has the depth that it used to, especially with Clea Davis being hurt. Gross Matos did get a pressure late in the first
Yep.
quarter, but other than that, he's been. I feel like he's been kind of invisible so far, and he's a guy that they're really counting on. So I did want to see more out of him in these games, being a little bit more disruptive. I haven't seen it yet. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but I haven't seen it yet. I saw Robert Beal get pushed aside on a run play for a big
Yeah.
game. That's a little concerning because you need guys who can set the edge because they didn't have that last year. So that
Eh,
stuff to me is what's sticking out right now.
Beal was never going to be that guy, right? Like when Beal came out
No,
of
no, he's a
Georgia,
pass
I mean,
rusher.
what was he like
Yeah,
255? Like he's a
yeah,
small,
yeah.
he's literally a situational pass rusher. And so that's where it's kind of like, that's why I don't know that he has a spot on the squad, but they are also thin
Yeah.
at defensive end. So one thing I will say is I saw today on Twitter that it looks like Randy Gregory is going to be released by the Bucks again with
That
a
was a
team that
weird.
is,
He just didn't show
yeah.
up, right? Like he just didn't come.
I don't know. I didn't look at the background. Just thought, hey, a guy that they had last year that they know, right? Not that he was like a super impact, but he was good enough for a team that really needs some edge depth.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if they try and bring him in again.
So the 49ers line, though, to me, like you said, the offensive line, I'm a little scared today.
Yeah,
That is the one thing I'm taking away from this game is I'm a little bit scared. And you said the Saints D is very good. It absolutely is. But we know without Trent, they're not going to be the same. You're talking about one of the greatest left tackles of all time. And I
Yeah.
assume Trent Williams is going to be there. But you have Feliciano hurt. You have Burford hurt right now. Cooney is likely going to start that first week. And we love Dominic Cooney. We think Dominic Cooney is going to be a very good player. And I don't, I'd have to go back and see. Nothing stuck out exactly. There were a few places the run side that got blown up on the run. I didn't know whose fault that was or whatever. But some of the pass protection definitely from the left side was scary.
Yeah.
Jalen Moore on one of the plays, Purdy got hit. I don't know what the hell he was doing.
The naked bootleg, Jalen Moore just whiffed on his block, and that's why I believe it was Chase Young that got just a free release on that naked.
It was a second play too. Purdy got hit in the pocket because of Jalen Moore. It looked like him and Zakel got crossed up maybe on who to block. That's maybe what it looked like. And again, you're getting your franchise quarterback hit in the preseason. Like, I just can't fathom it. Have him go out there and throw some screens and shit. I'm literally sitting there with my mouth open, like clutching my drink, like, oh my God, is he going to get hit again? Like, just thinking the absolute worst that could happen. So that's going to be something they're going to have to clean up. And that is going to be the concern. What is normally the strength of the 49ers is the defensive line, the depth there. Offensive line is always a little bit of other than a couple guys, but those are the spots to me that are going to make or break the team this year. And there's some issues there. Receiver is also a little bit scary to me, just because if you don't have Aiyuk, again, you kind of got two dudes, right? You got Jennings and
not
Devo.
great.
Yeah. Pierce Hall, I don't know that he's going to be ready week one. Couple good things though. I don't want to make this a total bitch fest. Even though, listen, everybody was talking about the Purdy thing. It's not like we're pulling something out of our ass here. It was ridiculous.
No.
But Cody Schrader, I thought, ran really well tonight. Really well. And he was an opening kick returner, which was interesting to me. They're obviously trying to figure that out. Jacob Cowing returned punts. They both did a pretty good job tonight doing that too, at least to this point. Schrader, we talked last week. I said, well, I don't really see a lot out of him. And you're like, well, he was running behind, the third string offensive line. He didn't have any room. And tonight, a lot of his plays got blown up, but when he had a seam or had some blocking, I thought he looked explosive. I thought he was getting, where he had blocks, he was getting 5-6 yards. He was making the right read. He was going to the right hole. Thought he did a really good job. And I thought he looked fast. He's someone, again, we really liked him coming into the preseason. And what he showed tonight, all of a sudden, if there's injuries there, I wouldn't be surprised if he's on the 53-man.
Well, and one of the things that they talked about on the broadcast, which I appreciated, was that game that he had against Tennessee at Missouri, where he rushed for over 200 yards and he had 100 yards receiving as well. I think that's an underrated aspect of his game in terms of what people talked about when they, when he went undrafted is his ability in the passing game. I said it last episode, both catching the ball and as a blocker as well. I really think he's making. I really think he's making a case, and the thing is he's not just making a case for the 49ers, he's making a case in the league as well, right? Because if the 49ers end up not, and end up cutting him because they want to keep Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason and Christian McCaffrey, obviously they're keeping McCaffrey, but if they don't want to carry a fourth running back that isn't Juice. He may be the odd man out. He will get picked up somewhere, I think. I think he's proven already in these first two games that he can play in this league. He's also a lot faster than he tested. I think that was one of the things that tanked his draft stock was, he ran, I think, in the 4.5s or 4.6s, but he looks faster than that. Or at least he's quicker. Maybe he's quicker than fast. Maybe he doesn't have that long speed, but I thought as well that he really kind of acquitted himself nicely. The other guy that I was just thrilled to see on the field was Jacob Cowing, and he was the recipient of that long pass from Josh Dobbs to get down into the red zone at the end of the first half. It was good to see him on the field. You can see the idea, right? You can see why they drafted him. You can see kind of what they are thinking with him, both as a punt returner and then as kind of a deep threat, and that played out tonight. So it was good to see him on offense as well. Also, Eric Saubert, man. Eric Saubert is making, he's tight end 2 at this point. Like, he was gonna make the team as tight end 3 because he's a great blocker, but he's done quite a bit in the passing game as well. So kudos to Eric Sauber. He's definitely earned himself a spot on this roster. So I think those were the highlights. Josh Dobbs, obviously, Cowing, Schrader, and Eric Sauber, I think were the highlights for me on offense in this first half.
And the reason why Cowing is so important is he had 3 catches for 43 yards in the first half. As the 49ers move forward here, and I'm going to assume they're moving forward with Brandon Aiyuk when I say this, likely Debo will not be on the team next year. Or if I guess Debo is, Aiyuk may not. Well, you have one of those guys is what I'm saying, essentially. So you need to identify other receivers who are going to be part of your next window. They drafted 2 this season. They have Juwan Jennings for another couple years. But Pearsall and Cowing are 2 guys that you hope can be around for the next window for the next 4 or 5 years. And Cowing, there, he was hurt, and there were some reports that I heard from camp. Maybe he didn't have some good days, but he's looked good to me lately. I think there's a lot of talent there. I think there's a lot of upside there. He gives the Niners somebody who can make plays downfield. So I was really glad to see that. Cam Latu made a couple catches. He dropped 1 too,
but also stone hands.
Made a couple catches. Danny Gray dropped the ball. It wasn't an easy catch, but it looks like his days are numbered on this team. Wasn't too long ago when Trey Lance was hitting Danny Gray on what was an 80-yard touchdown pass or whatever the hell it was a few preseasons ago. And now that's to think where they are now. It's kind of comical. So defensively, Jair Brown continues to flash for me. He made that really nice tackle in the backfield, and he looks fast. He continues to be a guy who's flashing. Mustafa, like you said, he made a play. He also looked like he overran a player, missed a tackle too, which is fine. Again, he's a rookie, but he always has a play that kind of stands out to you. You're like, holy shit, he came out of nowhere. He looked like a rocket. So he's
shot
really
out of a
fun to
cannon,
watch. Yeah, he's really fun to watch. Again, Ronaldo Green was on Olave. He did give up one. I don't know how. I'd have to check how long the actual pass was that he gave up. But other than that,
10 yards, I think.
Pretty well against Olave. Yeah, I'd have to see what Olave actually. He had 3 catches for 26 yards. I don't remember which one was on Green, but Green made the really nice pass break up on him on 3rd down, which is great to see from your rookie corner. So definitely some positives that you saw, and that's all you're looking for in these games. You just want to see some positives here and there because most preseason games are ugly. Most preseason games are a slog. Yeah, so it's tough. We have to get on here and talk about what we saw, and it's tough to do sometimes. But there were some positives. We'll see. Again, the Niners are a top-heavy team. When their stars run the field, it's going to look much different, obviously. Also, I do want to say, I don't always like to read Twitter replies. I do sometimes. And tonight was officially my last game day of reading Twitter replies. I had somebody tell me when I tweeted the thing about Purdy that, like, if Allen and Dobbs can play with the backup, so can Purdy. And I was like, that's it. I'm done for the season. As soon as I got that reply, I said, I'm done for the season. That's it. I'm not reading another reply. So if I don't answer your question, it's because of that person. I was like, nope, that's it. I'm done for the season.
If Josh Dobbs and Brandon Allen, who play with those wide receivers regularly, can make those passes, why can't Brock Purdy, who rarely plays with them? I don't understand. It makes no sense.
And they're playing against backups with the other backups. It's not like they're coming in to start the game with the backups against the starter. I can't. I just couldn't even. I just one of those things where I'm like, all right, that's it. Turn the phone off. Not reading any more of those tonight. Holy shit,
you heard it,
man.
You heard it here first, folks.
I don't know where these people come from.
If you reply to Al on Twitter, he's likely not reading it. So.
Oh my God. No, that's not totally true. I'm sure next game I'll be reading some stuff, but just some of the shit that gets sent to me, I can't believe it. Yeah. Like at first I'm like, well, they're not serious. This person's not serious, but they probably are serious. Someone else told me, Purdy doesn't look good when he doesn't have like the Avengers around him. And I'm like, dude, I can't with you people. So, and these are like 2 of like, whatever. 4
sure.
So it's only
he doesn't look good when he doesn't have the Avengers around him, but you know what he had around him?
God.
The toxic Avengers, right? Like
it was literally like fifth stringers.
Yeah, not anybody that he would be throwing to in the regular.
And he's running for his life.
Yeah,
unbelievable. It's just unbelievable. I can't. Anyway, so yeah, that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
What I did want to also talk about in this show is why this is a huge week for the 49ers.
Yes.
I don't want to get into the back and forth of the contracts. We've been talking about it ad nauseum, but there's 3 weeks. We're recording this on a Sunday night. So tomorrow is Monday. There's 3 weeks to the 49ers first game on Monday Night Football. We are at the point where Trent Williams and Brandon Aiyuk need to get into camp to start getting those calluses again, those football calluses, to start getting in football shape to be ready for week 1. I'm less worried about Williams because I feel like Williams can come off the couch and still be, I know people said that about Bosa too, but I think Williams will get back within a couple weeks and enough time to get his body ready. Kyle kind of alluded to it, like they're not really worried about that. If we're this time next week and we still don't have any sort of resolution, I'm going to start to get worried and maybe start to, have a little bit more to say about this. But I do still stick to what I said earlier. I think Williams will be there. I think he'll be in shape. I think he'll be okay. Aiyuk, nobody knows what the hell's going on with this thing. It's getting comical. Everybody's frustrated. I think everybody's just like, figure this shit out. And if you get a receiver coming back a week before the season starts, not going to have the timing, not going to be in shape. I don't care how many sprints he does on the side or whatever the hell he's doing on his own. Not in football shape. And you run the risk at those positions of old hamstrings, right? Tweaks, that sort of thing when you're not out there doing football stuff. So it's not a good situation with him. He needs to figure his shit out and either get his ass into camp or go where you're going to go. If you want to go. That's kind of where I am with this right now. Do I think the Niners fumbled this? Yes. But also with him, make a freaking decision and go if you're going to go. I'm just sick of this shit.
Yeah, it's past the time to end this, right? And again, both parties have blame to share. What is the holdup, right? Like, what is the hold? That's what I just don't understand. It just makes no sense to me. Like, it doesn't feel like negotiations have to be or should be this difficult. If you are willing to match what the Steelers did, then match it and move on, right? So that you don't have to trade him. Or if you're not willing to match it, then trade him. Like, it feels so much more complicated than it needs to be. And obviously we don't, we're not NFL front office executives. I understand that part, but it just feels like there's so many reports that are like, the 49ers have upped their offer. The 49ers have upped their offer. They've matched what the Steelers, like, great. Why isn't it done? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And then on top of that, I mean, is the Trent thing not done because you have to figure out the Aiyuk thing first? That also
I don't know.
doesn't seem like that's necessarily the case. And again, to me, it comes down to this for both Trent and Brandon Aiyuk. It is likely guaranteed money. And for Trent, I don't know if that's in the form of I want guaranteed money up front, right? I imagine that's what it is with Brandon Aiyuk, right? You hear these contracts all the time, right? It's 4 years, $120 million, right? With $70 million guaranteed, 50 guaranteed at signing or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
That guaranteed at signing is cash that goes to them when they sign the contract. And I have to wonder if this is the big issue, right? Because that means that is straight up cash going from the organization to the player in whatever sum, they say, right? So $50 million means that the 49ers are cutting a check to Brandon Aiyuk that he's going to deposit in his bank account for $50 million. That's what guaranteed at signing means. And so, but the other thing is anything else that you guarantee, that cash goes into escrow and it's no longer yours for the length of the contract, which is why you heard all the time about the Raiders and their inability to sign big time players or sign big time contracts is because they were cash poor and they literally couldn't come up with the liquid cash to throw into escrow when you sign a player to a monster deal that has a good amount guaranteed. So my question is that the issue? And nobody knows. Nobody's saying anything, but I mean, it certainly seems like Kyle and John want him on the squad, right? Like I don't have any reason to think that they don't. So again, who is dragging their feet? Is it the Yorks? I don't know, but it certainly seems like we have got to shit or get off the pot. Like it is ridiculous at this point.
Well, Lynch was taking some heat because he was on CanBR, I believe, and they asked him what's taking so long, and he was like, "I wish I knew." And people were kind of attacking him, saying, "Well, you're the
Why
GM.
don't you know?
How don't you know?" Yeah. What I think he meant by that, one of two things. We likely meant is that we have this offer to Brandon, we're waiting on Brandon. So I wish I knew it was taking so long. The other part of it is, and this is, I don't have any specific information on this. This is just my guess of how things work, my impression from things that I've heard or been alluded to. I don't think Lynch has anything to do with this. I think he may be in the conversation of, yeah, we want this guy back, but Kyle's going to make the final decision on the roster, and the money stuff, I don't have anything to do with it. It's Prague. And with Jed, obviously, they need Jed's blessing for anything, but Prague's the one who's doing these contracts. The Niners have been known to drive a hard bargain. The Niners have been known to be kind of tough to deal with. What did Kittle call
they lose all of these negotiations.
Well, that's the other thing.
That's the ridiculous part.
Even now, you're pushing it to the end. Bosa had you over a barrel last year. I mean, look at the contract Bosa got, and you made it go until 2 days before the season or whatever it was. And even now with Aiyuk, so they're upping their offers late, when all this time they're like, well, this is our offer. Well, now it's crunch time. Now everybody's kind of getting desperate because the season's around the corner, and you cave. So it's kind of like, why are you standing on these laurels? Just get this done earlier. It is very frustrating, but I do think it's Prague and Jed, to whatever extent, driving the money of what they're going to do in years and that sort of thing. They take care of the salary cap. Prague is their salary cap guy. So I don't think Lynch has say in the play, obviously.
Sure.
But I don't think he has a lot to do with the actual contract discussions. They'll probably say, like, listen, this is, we want Brandon back. Like, he's in our plans. And they'll say, well, this is the number we can give him that he's in our plan. So I don't necessarily think it's fair to attack Lynch for that. Lynch is a figurehead. Lynch is a vice president. Lynch is a politician, which is great. He's great at it. And I want to throw this out there too, now that I'm on a tangent. Remember what the 49ers were like before Lynch and Shanahan got there. They were a shit show, right? 100%. With like leaks and dysfunction and everything else. So if Lynch is there just to right the ship, to make sure everything is happening in a good fashion, then God bless him. He deserves the money he's making.
Yeah, because he did a tremendous job.
Yeah, he's been a great figurehead for them. He's Lynch and Shanahan. Remember, they had to be given 6-year contracts at the time, which was unheard of.
Yep.
Because nobody trusted the 49ers organization. They're like, you've gone through 3 coaches in 3 years. This will be the 4th in 4 years. You need to guarantee us 6 years. And they told us, if this leaks out, I'm not doing it, is what Lynch said. So they had to come back and kind of reestablish the respect of the franchise, which they have. Absolutely, they have. Yeah, in spades, 100%, to the point where they're respected around the league. Oh, Chase Young is getting interviewed on TV right now. Chase, so you decided to play tonight. It's great. Tell us about it. They've given, again, in the league, respect everywhere. They are the 49ers again, and they were not the 49ers when those guys took over. So, I kind of pumped the brakes with that with Lynch. You can be frustrated the way some of these contracts have happened. He said himself he's an impatient guy. I don't think it's his fault.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't put any of this on John Lynch. I don't put any of it on Kyle Shanahan. And that's possibly why we don't get very much information about it, because, for all the leaks and everything, we don't know a whole lot about Parag's process. We don't know a whole lot about the Yorks and their process. And we don't know how much input John and Denise have versus just Jed, right? Even though Jed is kind of the figurehead, right? It's like, is Jed in charge, or is it really John and Denise? But Jed is a figurehead because they don't want anything to do with it, right? There's still questions about stuff like that. And so, I have no doubt that it's, that it is, I'm not going to say above Lynch's pay grade because he is the general manager. But again, I think some of these negotiations have less to do with Lynch and more to do with those, the people with the most power being the ones that hold the purse strings. And that's Parag is in charge of the purse strings, but the Yorks obviously hold it. So, but I mean, it's a big week. Not only that, but I feel like it's a big week for some of these players that have missed a fair amount of camp with some injuries, like Ricky Pearsall. And I think it's important for Christian McCaffrey to get on the field. I'm not saying he needs to play in the preseason, but I think he would say, hey, I need to get my legs under me a little bit more before the season starts. It'll be interesting to see if we see him at all, in as camp winds down. Friday is the third and final preseason game, and then there's 2 weeks between the end of the preseason and the beginning of the regular season. So it'll be interesting to see if any of them come back at all. Obviously, Pearsall's making this team. We don't need to worry about that. I
He
think
needs reps, though, man. He needs reps.
Oh no, 100%. I'm not saying it's not important for him to get back. I'm just saying I don't think he has to come back because he's fighting for a spot. But there are some guys that are, banged up that do need to get in there because they may find themselves on the outside looking in. I think we've talked a lot about we feel like Pearsall and Cowing are locks. We've talked about so then who is that last
Yeah.
one? I and some people have said maybe Cowing is not a lock. I think after tonight. I think he's a
Agreed.
lock.
He's
I think
making the
Cowing
team,
is a lock.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Friend of the show, Steph Sanchez, tweeted out about 6 minutes ago. She said, I just know Kyle Shanahan is juiced to have Jacob Cowing. He very much looks the part, and he does. I think Jacob Cowing I think Jacob Cowing is going to be what they wanted Danny Gray to be, right? But just more consistent. And so excited for that as well.
And if Cowing's the punt returner, and again, he's done a fine job tonight, I think that pushes the Trent Taylor talk out.
Yeah.
And then that sixth receiver, again, it all depends on Aiyuk, but they decide whether they want to keep Bell or Conley or whatever. But
I'm out on Bell.
I think I am too.
I've seen enough on Ronnie Bell.
Yeah.
Someone actually just commented,
Just
have
ask
you guys
that.
touched on Ronnie Bell? Think he's a goner? I do. I think
yes. The answer is yes.
I don't think he's long. He's long for this roster. He didn't help himself tonight. He had a drop tonight. We haven't really seen him handle punt or kick returns. He just doesn't look like he has a role on this team. And again, we think the 5, as long as Aiyuk resigns, is no, it's not resigns, extends. Is Aiyuk, Debo, Jennings, Pearsall, and Cowing are the 5 that are locks. So really, you're talking about Bell, Chris Conley, Trent Taylor, Danny Gray, right? You're talking about four guys that are fighting for one spot. And of those 4, the only one that has really proven himself, both in the NFL and with the 49ers, is Chris Conley. And so I think Conley is, if we're talking 6 wide receivers, Conley is probably has the inside edge for that because he's a demon on special teams. And then, he's even reliable if he has to get in a game. We saw that in the Super Bowl. That's a great way to prove yourself, if you will.
Dude, can you imagine if Aiyuk doesn't sign and Pearsall's still hurt? This wide receiver group. Oh my God.
Oh, it's a disaster. It's an abject disaster.
There's a world. Yeah, there's a world that I'm not even allow myself to go there where week 1 could be like, what the hell is going on? If they don't get guys healthy and they don't get guys signed. Even like in your top 3 guards going into this offseason are hurt.
And listen, you're playing the Jets week 1. That's not a defense to mess around with. You need all your horses. If you're going to beat the Jets and you're going to beat that defense, you need all of your horses. And right now, they don't. And that's a little concerning. Listen, do I think they can beat the Jets in week 1 on Monday night? I absolutely do. But that's still a team that has Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. Don't know what he's going to look like coming back from the Achilles, whatever. It's still Aaron Rodgers. They've got Breece Hall. They've got great wide receivers. And then they've got a top 10, maybe even a top 5 defense with your former defensive coordinator calling the shots over there. So,
yeah, it's going to be a fun game.
Or it's going to be a nightmare.
Like, I really hope
I was pretty confident in that game. As the season approaches, I am significantly less confident in that game, just because I don't feel like this offense is going to be clicking on the cylinders it needs to click on because Trent hasn't been there all offseason. Aiyuk hasn't been there all offseason. McCaffrey's been hurt. Like all these things that we're talking about, you're playing a top 10 defense in week 1. Like they could come out and absolutely shit the bed on Monday Night Football. I don't think that's out of the question.
Yeah, I think everybody feels like the Niners are going to come out and be the Niners, but that's a really good point. With the injuries they've had, with some new pieces on the defense and a new coordinator, it could be one of those seasons where it takes them maybe a month to kind of start clicking or whatever. You could definitely see that. And it is, it's about how you finish, not how you start. So, but I mean, people still will freak out if they start out 2-2 or whatever.
It is about how you finish, but the other thing you got to think about is that team that you played in the NFC Championship game is going to be just as good this year, if not better. And they are a demon to play at home. And if they get home field advantage because you floundered out of the gate because you screwed around with the Aiyuk contract and the Williams like that could come back to bite you in the ass big time for sure.
Well, I think the whole NFC is going to be better.
Yeah,
there's teams that I think
Packers
are
going to
really
be good.
upcoming there. So,
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. The Eagles are going to be better. I think the Rams are going to be better, and it's going to be really interesting. Hey, one thing I do want to tell the listeners, Brian and I have been talking about, we're going to do a show at one point. Maybe it'll be after a game when people be a loss or whatever, when Aiyuk signs or whatever happens. We're just going to put our StreamYard link in social media and just let people come on the show. So the way we're going to try to do that, we don't know if this is going to work or not, but we'll put it out there. And on StreamYard, you see when people sign it. So you could put people in and out and they stay sort of in the background or whatever. So we'll let people in one at a time. We'll have you come on, ask a question, just give your thoughts, talk a couple minutes, then we'll go to the next person. So we don't know when we're going to do that. We'll announce it or just put it in Twitter or whatever. But we thought that would be kind of fun and just it could also be a shit show, depending on who comes on.
Which could also be.
We'll
fun.
see. We don't care. We're going to see what happens. It makes for good podcast and good YouTube and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I did also want to say I want to thank Foco for sending over Christian McCaffrey tumbler. We gave one of these away a couple weeks ago. If you want one, I'm pulling it up on YouTube. It's in the description in our YouTube show for Foco. Go check that out. It's like 30 ounces. It's really cool. And Foco's got a lot of other cool stuff too. So,
absolutely.
All right, Brian, you got anything else, man?
I don't. Last preseason game on Friday. The regular season is right around the corner. It's fantasy draft season. It's just
can't wait.
It feels like football is it's not fully back yet, right? I mean, watching that game was not entertaining in the slightest, but it's getting closer. It's getting closer.
It's college football game on Saturday.
Good.
There it is. And being so immersed in the NFL, like I love college, but I forget. I'm like, oh shit, it's college football. College football's here because I'm waiting for NFL, and then college sneaks up on me. So I'm excited for that too. But
yeah,
it's all good.
Real football is right around the corner, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
Real football is not what we saw tonight, but we will see it soon. All right. For Brian, I'm Al. Thanks, everybody.
Later.